Hey guys, welcome to another episode of LFA Shop Shop. Today we're working on the Cuore turbo manifold. So today I'm going to be working on the Cuore again. We've got the 4 laser cut parts. We've got one 90-degree 40mm steam pipe bend. We've got two 90-degree 32mm steam bends and four 45-degree 32mm bends. And then I've got about a metre of 32mm pipe. So today I'm going to try and make up this manifold, or at least get it started and tacked together to hold the turbo in place and clear everything around the engine. So the other day I got the engine into the car. It's just sitting there for now. It's not actually bolted in. The subframe's bolted in and there's a ratchet strap in place of the gearbox. I was just dumbing up some radiator hoses. So getting there, slowly ticking things off the box. But today I need to try and make a manifold to hold the turbo. So this is the kind of room restriction we've got. And not to mention the bumper that goes just here. So I'll start working on that, and then once I've got some progress, I'll let you know. So it's been about an hour working on the Daihatsu. So to start with, I got the two 32mm 90-degree bends, put an 11cm piece of straight in between, and then came 45 degrees off the manifold. This is all just mocked up for now, just to see what will fit. Then originally I was going to use the 40mm 90-degree off of the manifold to the turbo, but we were losing too much room. So I've knocked that off and just put the flange directly onto the log manifold. And as you can see, it just clears everything. So this may get clocked in a different direction. The center housing is directly upside down, so that is the oil drain. It needs to be on the bottom, obviously. And the dump pipe is quite close to the radiator and stuff, but I'm sure we can move things if we need to, or just have a very small, very tight dump pipe, which is also fine. So I've had to rotate the housing. I've popped it apart and have rotated it just purely to get this intake out the way, but it's getting there. So before I go any further, I've thrown the bumper back on and you can see the turbo in there. You see the turbo in there, it's very, very tight. But coming over this side, you can see this stud here. So that's the only thing touching the bumper at the moment, and that is not needed, so that can come off. And then the rest of it sits in quite a lot. And as you can see, I've thrown the original wastegate actuator back on, and it seems to fit fine. So it's all coming along quite nicely. So I've never made a manifold like this before. So this is what's considered a log manifold. Just added some 45 degrees here to get the turbo out of the way. So you can see I've had a few shots at aligning everything. There's a few random tack welds that have been cut, but it's coming along nice. So I'm going to have to run a piece of pipe in here or weld it. It's quite a big gap. And on the other side, I'm definitely going to have to run a piece of pipe to close up that gap there, which you can see in the light. And then coming around the back, I'll have to cut this out so that the exhaust gas can get to the turbo. And then make these two runners with the 45s and then a small piece of straight and notch that out for this pipe and then cut the hole in that and then weld the whole thing fully, and then it should be all good to go. So it's been about an hour again. I've got the manifold roughly mocked up. So I've got the 4 45s across here, 2 bits of 32mm tube straight. I've notched those out to go onto this 32mm piece, and then I've got the 2 90s on the corners. And the template on here. So the idea is to cut all this out, cut out into here, and the same for this tube in here. And then all the exhaust gases will come up through here, all joined together, come out of this port here, into the turbo. So it's a bit rough at the moment. Some of the gaps are a bit horrible, like in there, but I'm going to keep working at it and I'll get it pretty good and weld it all up. So I'll diagram what I need to and then weld it all up and then it'll be ready to go. So here is the manifold on the engine. You can see it kicks up from the 45s down here into the 290s and gets it a little bit more clearance. So from the top, you can see it just comes past that radiator support, but not too much. So it's looking pretty good. And here is the turbo on the manifold. So the plan is to run the intake past these two. Once the belt's on, that'll make this gap even smaller, and then down into this pocket here with a filter. And then with the intercooler, I'm not 100% sure yet, but probably go a 90 degree out of here into the intercooler and have a return flow, and then come up through the top into the throttle body. or we can go around this side and then across. Try and keep it as short and neat as possible. That's how it's all coming along. So I'll chuck the bumper on and show you the clearance. So the bumper's back on and you can see the stud is still touching the bumper. I haven't cut that off yet. That is the only thing that is touching the bumper. So there's a reasonable amount of clearance. Gets a bit tight with the intake side of the turbo. And then there's a fair bit of room down the bottom. So I'm pretty happy with the result. But the exhaust is going to be a bit of a challenge because it needs to go from there down that gap, miss the oil drain down there. That's going to be a fun one. So I'll just finish welding up the exhaust manifold for the turbo. So I haven't done this before, so it's a bit of a process. You got to get in all the little nooks and crannies and try and make sure you've got all the holes filled up. So it is a bit of a process, and some of the welds are horrible. Some of them are okay. Majority of them are horrible. So I ran a hole saw through here and through here before I welded it all together. I took it off of the 45-degree runners and then ran a hole saw up in through the straight piece into the main log part there. And then I ran a hole saw through here and then die grind what was left over. So that's all clean. In those there, all the holes are all cleaned out. So then I've welded all what I can get to, clamped it to a big bit of RHS. So I'm going to leave that there until it cools down to try and stop this flange from flexing. And I did the same thing with this flange when I welded that up. So they should remain reasonably straight, but you always have to check them and sand them back anyway. So once it's cooled down, I'll clean up some of the welds and take the clamps off. And there's a few little spots I couldn't get to because the clamp's in the way. So I'll weld those up and then clean everything up, make sure it's all airtight and looks okay. You have to clean it up a fair bit, but it should be okay. It should work out well. So it's been a pretty busy week and I haven't got a whole lot done. So that's as far as I got with the Daihatsu. And then I also looked at the Lexus because that diff was leaking after we replaced it. So I've just been working on the IS250 again today. Jacked the back up, I degreased and pressure washed underneath the rear end to see where this leak's coming from. Resealed the drain plug and resealed the fuel plug and filled it up with diff oil again because it's been spewing out a bit. So I cleaned it all off and sealed those two things up again, and then I took it for a drive once everything was dry, and I can see that the left hand side diff seal, so where the axle goes into the diff, is leaking. So I'm going to try and order a pair of those and swap them over when I get the parts. So it's just a quick update on the Lexus. So nothing too serious. I don't have the diff out again by the looks of it, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to take the half shafts out, which is not too big a deal. Probably take 2 or 3 hours for the pair, so it's not too bad. So that's as far as I've gotten this week. I've got the new seals for the Lexus diff to stop that leak. And other than that, I've been trying to deal with the 30k challenge, trying to buy and sell some more things, which we'll see in a future episode. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Maiden voyage. Brakes work. Door needs some love. I can't get my seat out from behind the seat. Ah, you. A bit of plastic under here tearing my fingers to shreds. Wow, it's really smooth. Oh, that Corolla smell, how good. It's hopefully, excellent play. Good tin. Little one's got. Come on through, fella.
looks so good.
It's so ridiculous. It's really comfortable.
Yeah, I noticed when I was sitting in it.
Blowing so much smoke. Definitely needs a wheel alignment.
Well, you weren't howling down the road, so.
Not even bad. I mean, it's a thing.
Cool. You won't hack a fat single pegger in your driveway.
Try. It's got nothing. It's got no balls. No balls.
You want a Guardi?
No.
No.